sir, but I have just been shot. But this will not stop your bull moose from giving his speech. As you can see, my very long speech has a bullet hole. Here and here. I'm not going to the hospital. I came to give this speech, so I am going to give this speech.
A few moments later.
Imperialism. And then that's when I took San Juan Hill. The square deal. Speak softly and carry a big stick. I won the Nobel Peace Prize.
One eternity later.
That's enough. Take me to the hospital.
There are two U.S. presidents in this picture. Can you spot them? This is a photo of Lincoln's funeral. So Abraham Lincoln is being marched through the streets of Washington here. But this house they are passing belonged to a wealthy family called the Roosevelts. And up here, peeking through the window, is future President Theodore Roosevelt. Now Teddy, Theodore's nickname was Teddy, was born in 1858, and he was born very sick. His own parents thought this kid was going to die. He was so sick. As a child, Teddy suffered from frequent colds and very bad asthma. The Roosevelt family was very well known. Teddy's father gave a lot to charity and museums. His own children called him Great Heart. That's a lot of respect that your own kids find you to be that awesome. Their mother grew up on a Georgia plantation with many slaves. So one parent was from the north and the other was from the south. So when the Civil War happened, it caused a bit of tension in the family. But the Roosevelts were pro-Union. But the mother forced her husband not to join the army so he wouldn't fight against her family. This will bother Teddy later in life, because it was the one thing he felt his father let him down on. He thought that was very cowardly not to go to war. As you will soon find out, Teddy Roosevelt loves war. As a teenager, Teddy loved history, science, and adventure. He used to keep live mice in his room so that the maids were always afraid to go in there. But he was still very sick. He never fully got over his asthma, but he was determined to exercise and work his body to conquer his sickness. Their father told them, sickness is a sin. Teddy's younger brother Elliot was bigger and stronger than him, and he defended his older brother from all the bullies. Teddy was always finding something to do, whether that was wrestling or writing a 498-page book on naval history. Theodore does get married to Alice Lee, and he adores this woman. She's the only person in the world to call Roosevelt Teddykins. Roosevelt gets elected to the New York Senate, and he is there when he finds out that his wife Alice just had a baby. So happy, right? Well, hold on. Things are about to get very bleak. A jubilant Roosevelt returns home to find out that his wife Alice is dying. Not only that, his own mother is also dying. Teddy goes between his mother's bedside and his wife's bedside for hours, and he watches them both die on that same day. Teddy writes one sentence in his journal that day: "The light has gone out of my life." His baby girl was named Alice, but Teddy does not want to see her. He asked his sister to raise his daughter. He does not want that reminder. In fact, he never mentions his late wife again. Unable to handle the grief, Teddy feels he can't be in New York any longer, so he travels west to the Dakotas. There he becomes a ranchman. He hunts buffalo and designs his own cowboy costume. At first, the other cowboys make fun of him because he is the city boy, and they call him Old Four Eyes because of his glasses. Teddy knocks that guy out, and nobody calls him any nicknames ever again. It is out west that Teddy bulks up. He is no longer the skinny boy. Now he is a bull moose. It is said that he once killed a grizzly bear. While he was in the White House, someone gave him a bear cub as a gift because they thought he would like to hunt it. But Roosevelt refused to kill the baby bear. So that is why Roosevelt is frequently drawn with a little bear cub. Did you know that the teddy bear today is named after Theodore Roosevelt? That is why they're called teddies. This This is a collector bear that commemorates the 100th anniversary of Roosevelt becoming president. While he is out west, Teddy wrote his next book titled The Winning of the West. He doesn't return home until he received word that his younger brother Elliot, the one that used to chase away the bullies, was suffering from a bad drinking problem. Elliot dies, leaving his own daughter Eleanor behind. This is Teddy and his favorite niece Eleanor. Eleanor is also very famous, and we will get to her story later this year. Eleanor Roosevelt and her fifth cousin Franklin go on to do some important things. Teddy does get remarried to his old girlfriend, Edith Caro. They have 5 kids together, and Edith asks to raise Teddy's firstborn, Alice, so she moves back in. After being abandoned, Alice and Teddy will have a strained father-daughter relationship. Now, politically, where did Roosevelt stand? He was an imperialist. That means he was very aggressive on foreign policy. He said, Britain is on the decline, and America must take her place in the world. He firmly believed in the survival of the fittest, and that Europe should not control anything in the New World. That was all the United States' dominion. As I said before, Teddy Roosevelt loved war, and he wanted a chance to prove himself to be a hero. War does break out in Cuba. It starts with an American battleship, the Maine, blowing up in Havana Harbor. America declares war against Spain, and Teddy is determined to be in the middle of it. Teddy personally recruits a volunteer cavalry to go to Cuba. He gets his old cowboy friends, some Native Americans he knows, his fellow yacht buddies from Harvard, and even a former Confederate soldier. Together, they form the Rough Riders. They are ready for war. Only problem is, they are told that they can't go. But this doesn't stop Teddy. He commandeered a ship and sailed to Cuba anyway. There is a lot that happens in the Spanish-American War, and I will talk about that in a future episode. But for Teddy Roosevelt, this is where he gets to become the war hero he always wanted to be. The Rough Riders found themselves ambushed on a jungle path. When the fighting starts, Teddy gets all excited. This is his moment. Teddy will lead the charge up San Juan Hill to overrun the Spanish. A bullet does nick his elbow, but he was happy about it because now he has a war scar to show off to people. He said the whole thing had been a lot of fun. Never mind, many of his own Rough Riders died. Teddy will write another book about the Rough Riders, but if you read it, it really doesn't mention the Rough Riders a lot. It reads like Teddy was alone in Cuba and took San Juan Hill all by himself. So after the war, Teddy is nominated to become President McKinley's vice president. Everyone is for this, except for Teddy, because at this time the position of vice president is where political careers go to die. It has been ages before any vice president had been later elected to the position of president. But that changes when Teddy was taking his family on a vacation up a mountain, when a presidential messenger arrives out of breath to their campsite at the top of the mountain, and he tells Teddy that President McKinley had been shot. Teddy is now the president. Theodore Roosevelt took the oath of office in 1901, the youngest president ever to be a U.S. president at 42 years old. You might be thinking, what about Kennedy? He was the youngest elected president. There's a difference. As president, Teddy was very progressive. He wanted to limit working hours for children and protect the environment. He created a square deal that would favor neither the rich or the poor. He passed the Pure Food and Drug Act that required meat companies to accurately label their products. And would you believe it? Less Americans were getting sick after that. Miracle. He founded multiple national parks like the Grand Canyon, preserving them so future generations can enjoy nature's beauty. He passed hunting laws that saved the buffalo from the brink of extinction. He was a 20th century president. Teddy brings his entire family to the White House. This is the first time since Tad Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's son, that kids lived in the White House. The White House is the Roosevelt kids' playground. They have enough pets to fill a small zoo. They had 5 dogs, snakes, a badger, a raccoon, and a pony. They even got the pony into the White House elevator. Speak softly and carry a big stick. Teddy was an imperial president, so he's going to do a lot of imperial things, like annexing Hawaii. They are going to insist that the Hawaiian queen step aside. He sent troops to the Philippines and to Cuba. Mark Twain, the guy who wrote Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, said that Teddy Roosevelt is an imperialist who betrayed American principles. And yeah, Theodore believed the world was split between civilized nations and uncivilized nations. The Panama Canal was a dream of Roosevelt's that would propel the U.S. to be an even more stronger naval power. The United States helped Panama gain their independence from Colombia, but that help came at a price. Panama was to let America build a canal through their country to connect the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, and America will have full control of the canal. Teddy loved being president, and so everyone was asking him, will he run again in 1908 for a third term? Does his first term count because McKinley was shot and he inherited the presidency? He technically did not run for president. At this time, every president respected George Washington's decision to have only 2 terms and be done. But there was no rule that said a president couldn't run again. So when asked by a reporter if he would run again, he said no. And then he instantly regretted saying that. He didn't want to give up his power. He loved being the center of attention. He would steal the attention away from a bride at her own wedding if he could. And he did. Teddy walked his favorite niece Eleanor down the aisle when she married Franklin D. Roosevelt. I know, 5th cousins. Ew! But you can look at the family tree and see that they are actually very distant relations, or technicality aside, blah! Teddy Roosevelt was the first president to invite an African American to dine with him at the White House. That was a good thing, but he didn't do it again when he saw that he got a lot of negative press about it. For someone who wanted to be known for his bravery in battle, that was a very cowardly thing to do. Teddy is going to ignore African Americans throughout his entire presidency. The problems we were talking about when we learned about Reconstruction are still going on. In fact, they are going to get a whole lot worse now. Most African Americans were barred from voting, and 400 were lynched during the time Teddy Roosevelt was in office. Teddy is quoted for saying, "It will take blacks 1,000 years to match white people's intelligence." This is where a shift in political parties is going to start. More and more African Americans left the party of Abraham Lincoln, the Republicans, in favor of the Democratic Party. Teddy Roosevelt left office in 1908, but he handpicked the guy he wanted to replace him and helped him get elected, William Howard Taft. Teddy trusted that Taft would do the same kind of stuff he would do while he was in office. And then Teddy took a year-long vacation retirement trip to Africa to hunt elephants and giraffes, lions, and a lot of other cute animals. Today, this is called poaching, and this is very bad. When he came back to America, he was very disappointed to see that Taft wasn't doing things the way he wanted, so he breaks off his friendship with Taft. And Taft was very hurt by this. He didn't even want to be president. His dream job was to be a judge on the Supreme Court. He just ran because Roosevelt pushed him into it. But with their friendship now over, Teddy is going to challenge Taft in the 1912 election. Washington 2-term policy out the window. He was running for that 3rd term. Roosevelt had to create a whole new party because Taft was already running as the Republican candidate. So his party is called the Progressive Party, or more famously, the Bull Moose Party. He actually ran with a pretty chill platform. He said he would recognize women's rights and limit the workday to 8 hours, protect the environment, and provide insurance for the sick and elderly. When he was on the campaign trail, he was shot in the chest, but his folded speech and glasses case slowed down the bullet enough that it didn't puncture his heart. The bullet still remained inside him for the rest of his life. The crazy thing is, Roosevelt refused to go to the hospital until he finished his 88-minute-long speech. After all that, Teddy doesn't win because he forced the split of the Republican voters. It made it very easy for the Democrat candidate, Woodrow Wilson, to win the election. Teddy goes on another retirement adventure, this time to the Amazon rainforest. This trip almost kills him. After getting very sick, his son Kermit almost has to drag his father out of the jungle. Teddy is finally forced to slow down. So what kind of president was Teddy? He was considered great enough by many that he is one of the 4 presidents to be forever immortalized in Mount Rushmore. He was a Renaissance man who did great things like the Square Deal, environment protection, the Food and Drug Act. He was also tough as nails. Yet he was also a showboat, an imperialist, and a racist. Teddy is the example of how people and presidents can't be judged by being fully good or fully bad. We all have both light and darkness, but what matters is the part we choose to act on.
Teddy Roosevelt is coming through! Making a square deal for you. Teddy Roosevelt for president. Delighted. I once was sickly, ailing. I was an asthmatic kid. I hit the woods, I grew strong. When I wasn't conquered the Badlands, Assistant Secretary of the Navy, until the main went kaboom. Led the first volunteer cavalry, taking San Juan Hill in Cuba soon. Can I meet SAP, the Butcher McKinley? President now, Teddy Roosevelt is coming through.